I've been able to see for the first time some complete segments of Todd Standing's filming of Sasquatch.
Today we will be going on a journey into the heart of the unknown. In this video, we're not just discussing blurry blobs and grainy frames. We're meticulously dissecting what could be the definitive proof of a creature that has haunted our imaginations for generations. Using cutting-edge technology and forensic analysis, we will examine clear, stabilized footage, thermal imaging, and even potential DNA evidence that points to an intelligent, bipedal being living just beyond our reach. We'll break down the sightings with a level of detail never before attempted, allowing you to form your conclusion on the question, is Bigfoot real? It started as a simple catfishing trip with a battered cooler, 2 rods, and a quiet bend of the Mississippi that only the most stubborn bank fishermen still bothered with. Once, this stretch was a lively recreation spot, but decades of neglect had turned it into a ghost of itself that cracked pavement, bleeding grass, shattered picnic shelters, and a trail that was so overgrown it felt more like a tunnel through the wild.
If you ever decide to fish an abandoned stretch of the Mississippi River by yourself, do me a favor, keep your knife handy and your head on a swivel. I went in after catfish and almost ended up Bigfoot bait, lashed to a vine-woven raft, drifting damn near to the Gulf of Mexico. Here's what happened. I pulled into what used to be a busy little recreation area tucked way off the beaten path.
That day, the air was thick with mosquitoes and moths. The camper had just settled into the honey hole when movement upstream caught his eye. People, a whole group of them, were stepping out from the tree line where no path existed. They were big, every single one of them, like a family of such athletic build that he had never seen before. The camper kept on fishing and telling himself they would go away, but he could not deny that they were coming closer.
Nobody ever bank fishes that stretch. Stranger still, they seem to materialize straight out of the timber, where there's no cut-in, no trail, no nothing. Only way in should have been the lot I used. They were a ways off, call it a football field. But even at that distance, one thing jumped: big group and big bodies. Looked like one of those giant big-bone families where even the 10-year-olds can pass for grown men. I shrugged. Figured they'd found their own secret catfish supper plan.
The closer they came, the stranger it got. Their chatter wasn't English, wasn't Spanish, wasn't even the Cajun Creole thought of the camper. It was a rolling, guttural language that seemed to have a deep boom to it. Then a rock the size of a softball splashed into the water. A warning, maybe, or a test. That's when one of the rods bent like a bow, dragging screaming. Whatever it had hooked was huge. A blue cat, muscling upstream with tremendous power. As the camper was so focused on landing it that he almost missed the sound, which was a shrill, primal scream. As he turned just in time to see one of the kids from that group leap into the river, swimming hard for my line. That is when he realized it wasn't a kid.
But the words froze. That wasn't a boy. That wasn't even human. Standing there on the bank were towering, broad-shouldered, upright, ape-like figures covered in dark, shaggy hair, faces deep-set, heavy brows, wide noses, long arms hanging, a whole family of them, Sasquatches, Bigfoots, whatever name you like. I was looking right at them, and their youngster was now in the river.
Dark, shaggy hair stuck to a muscular frame, long arms cut through the water. On the bank, the rest of the group had come out of the shadow, massive, ape-like shapes with eyes that were deep in the sockets and broad shoulders, a family of Sasquatches. His mind scrambled between disbelief and raw fear as the young one fought with the hook for his fish, tangling itself in the line. The next few minutes were chaotic as the camper was trying to free the creature from the snare, the adults roaring from the shore but refusing to enter the water. Just as he got close, knife in hand to cut the line, pain exploded in the back of his skull.
Instant blackout. I figured the adults saw a steel flash and thought I was fixing to stab their kid. Can't blame them. Wrong move at the wrong second. When I came to, I wasn't on shore anymore. I was flat on my back, wrists and ankles bound in something like braided vines, lashed to a rough, handmade raft, drifting mid-river, sun sinking, wilderness on both sides, head pounding. Why tie me to a raft? Territorial eviction, mercy, message.
Just as he woke up, he realized he wasn't on the bank anymore. His wrists and ankles were lashed with something like braided vines, his body strapped to a rough raft, drifting in the middle of the Mississippi. The sun was setting behind the clouds. Wilderness closing in. Hours passed. He drifted past a small town, then back into black timber. No rescue, no sound but water and the pounding in his head. By the second night, heat and exhaustion blurred everything. Then he saw industrial lights, the rumble of a ship. He screamed until his voice cracked. A member of a ship spotted him, tossed a rope, and hauled him aboard. When they asked what happened, he told them, "Bigfoot family. Kid tangled in my fishing line. Got knocked out. Woke up tied to a raft and sent downstream." They laughed. But he wasn't joking. The river has its secrets, and he knew so did he. The forest had an eerie feeling to it. Darren's voice carried a mix of excitement and unease as he stepped back into the exact patch of wilderness where, just weeks earlier, he'd felt the hair on his neck rise. It wasn't just the memory of the sounds echoing through the brush that creeped him, but it was the knowledge that whatever made them had been close. Too close.
I'm going to be sharing with you guys, the thing was looking at me. The thing was watching me move into that area, and it was hiding in that tree cluster. So I don't know what the Sasquatch's motivation was that day, and I don't think any of us actually know what's going on in their heads. And there's a bunch of researchers out there who are concerned that they may be a little more aggressive.
He recalled the thing looking directly at him. Watching him move into that area while hiding in the shade provided by the trees. That shade wasn't just thick brush. It was a wall of shadow, filled with thorns, the kind of barrier you wouldn't walk into without a reason. But for the Sasquatch, if that's what it was the perfect cover, a place to stay concealed, to watch without being seen. Darren had returned to mark out the landscape, going back the steps he had taken, tagging points on his GPS. At one location, there was a rotting log and stump. He was sure a soldier of some type had been posted to keep an eye on him. From there, the hidden watcher would have had a clear line of sight to Darren's vehicle and to him.
There's something moving around. But I showed you this shot of the brush here. I looked on Google Earth. This brush goes for a significant distance. I think that's one reason the Sasquatch may be hunkered down in this area, just because it's hard to get in if you don't know the entrances to this area. Because look how thick this stuff is.
Reviewing the old footage later, Darren spotted it. Something in the shadows that seemed to shift, to turn, as if adjusting to watch him from a better angle. Blob squatch or not, the movement was real, and it hadn't been the wind. The thought chilled him. Was this creature waiting for him to step just a little too far into its cover? As the bird overhead screamed warnings, Darren powered forward, forcing his way through a tangle of branches. That's when the tapping returned, like coded messages passed between two unseen figures.
And it was concealed in the vegetation, so it could have easily ambushed me. And as I mentioned, I was having that concern. And as I moved around that brush area, as I was trying to power through that brush, I was getting to a location that was too thick in vegetation. And that thickness in vegetation was this tree cluster where the Sasquatch was hiding. So it was probably a really good thing that I turned around.
Darren concludes the video by knowing that one was in front of him and one was behind him. They could have easily taken him out if they wanted to, he shared. He stood there now, the air cold and still, wondering if the watchers were back, or if they'd already moved on, melting into another patch of wilderness where their shadows could swallow the next curious intruder whole. What began as a quiet birthday evening in the Ohio woods quickly spiraled into something far darker. The cabin sat under a pale moon, its windows glowing faintly against the dense wall of trees. Inside, the laughter was light, the kind you hear when family is together. But outside, something was moving.
And we see this creature. It was crawling. The moon was really bright that night, so it lit up the entire backyard, but only good enough to where you could see the figure, but you couldn't see, details of it.
From the stillness came a sudden, violent rustling, a bush exploding as if something huge had crashed into it. Birds erupted from the branches in a frenzy, their wings making sound in the air. For a heartbeat, Matt thought it was part of a joke. After all, they'd been teasing each other all night. But no one was laughing, no footsteps running away, just the fading echo of the chaos and the oppressive silence that followed. He stepped into the cabin expecting to catch someone hiding, but every door was shut, every bed undisturbed. The uneasy quiet thickened, and Matt's instinct told him he wasn't alone. His voice trembled as he called for the others, his eyes flicking to the tree line beyond the porch.
That's when I first knew that Matt was really scared, because he blocked the stairs. Boy, something really spooked you. And coming out of the woods back there, I saw this black thing.
Over here.
That's when they saw it. Low to the ground, moving with an animal's grace. But too large. Actually too large. The moonlight came in just enough silver onto its form to show its size. Impossibly broad shoulders, a hulking silhouette unlike anything they'd seen before. For a moment it froze, then slowly rose to its full height, towering over any man. It took deliberate steps toward the cabin, its weight shifting with an almost human confidence. Every instinct screamed to run, but no one dared move. Then, just as suddenly, it dropped back to all fours and slipped into the forest, the darkness swallowing it whole. They thought maybe the worst was over. They were wrong.
It's coming right towards us.
And that's when I started freaking out. Whatever it is, it's coming for the cabin.
I was terrified, and now I can't move. I don't want to take my eye off of this thing to know what it's going to do.
I was just ready to scream.
Footsteps began to circle them. Not the random sounds of a wandering animal, these were calculated, in bursts of 2 or 3 steps, stopping whenever someone turned. One massive shape kept their attention in front, while something else, maybe 2 more, surrounded from the shadows behind.
The downstairs door slams.
There, he's right there.
You could see something zoom by.
There.
I was scared. I was panicky scared.
They weren't dealing with a single creature. They were trapped. The air grew heavy with the sound of movement, and branches snapping in different directions, low growls came through the dark. Shadows shifted where no one stood.
And then the noises that started coming all around us, it felt like.
There was definitely more than one there.
You know, everywhere you looked, it was so active.
I felt surrounded.
Every pair of eyes darted, searching for the next point of attack. But the predators stayed just beyond the reach of the porch light. And there, deep in the Ohio forest, the birthday candles had long since burned out. The only thing that was shining were the unseen eyes in the tree line. Down East Maine is a place where the trees grow thick, the lakes stretch silent, and the air feels older than memory itself. They had no set destination, just the faint pull of a remote spot where reports had whispered of strange encounters. By the time the team found itself beside an empty lakeshore, miles away from the nearest road, The sun was setting and the stillness somehow felt expectant.
Pure white lights that come out, do a little dance, and then pew, just wink out. The temperature was like 45 degrees, way too early for fireflies. Not the right color, white, not that yellowish that the fireflies do.
That's when Lady K noticed them first. Small, pure white lights moving between the trees. Not fireflies, not in this cold, and not that color. They danced briefly, as if curious, before fading into the dark. Michael thought it must be a trick of the eye until she described seeing the exact same thing. On the far side of the lake, a pale haze began to rise from the trees, glowing faintly before dissolving without a sound. There was no moon, no source, only the growing feeling that the forest was watching. They set up camp on the ground near the water's edge, the didgeridoo humming low into the night air. The sound seemed to travel, carrying across the lake into the timber beyond, but not without an answer.
We saw some strange lights last night in the trees. You can't see anything. Look how foggy it is. You can see a little bit over there.
From somewhere deep in the darkness came a sudden boom so loud it shook the quiet. Not gunfire, but the sound was deeper, older, resonating through the ground. Minutes later came the sound, clack, 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 clack. Lady K compared it to rocks being struck together in a deliberate pattern. The noise stopped as suddenly as it started, leaving the night heavier than before, as though whatever made it had just stepped back into the shadows. The strangeness didn't stop there. While exploring the shoreline the next day, they stumbled on something no one could explain. They were massive granite formations, each stone straight-edged as though carved, stretching 30 or 40 feet, set into the earth in a place where there have been no quarries for thousands of years.
And it's straight on both sides of the rock. Like, yes, I am. Look how weird this is. I'm having a hard time paddling with one hand backwards and operating the camera at the same time.
The formation was too uniform to be natural, almost like part of an ancient road swallowed by the forest. No roads led here. No settlements were marked on any map. And yet, here it stood, silent, enduring, and out of place. That night's events would follow our explorers for long after they left. The glowing lights in the trees, the unnatural stonework, the deep echoing reports, and the rock clacking that seemed to answer back. Alone in that wilderness, it was impossible to ignore the truth that crept in like fog off the lake, that something knew they were there, and it wanted us to know it too. The forest was dead still, the kind of silence that presses against your eardrums and makes every step feel too loud. He had only just stepped off his four-wheeler, expecting nothing more than a routine check of his trail cameras, but almost immediately there was a sensation of being watched. The usual chorus of birds and insects was absent. The air carried a faint, heavy tension, like something was holding its breath. Moving deeper into the woods, he noticed signs he hadn't seen before, leaned branches forming odd patterns, dug-out patches of earth with no clear animal cause, and strange arrangements of rocks. Some of these totems were stuck high in trees, positioned with a deliberate precision that didn't match natural windfall. He'd been here before, but these structures felt new, almost as if they'd been built in the short time since his last visit.
I'm not positive that I came by this tree before, because I'm working my way back to that back area, but look at these chunks that have been dug out of there and thrown. Not like an animal dug them at all. It's just really strange. It's really weird.
The silence was broken by a chilling sequence of sounds like a distant whoop, followed almost instantly by a guttural howl, low and resonant, echoing from the ridge above. The noise didn't belong to any known animal in the area. It sent an instinctive shiver through him, the kind that locks your muscles and narrows your focus. Something was up there, and it wasn't trying to hide completely, just letting him know it was watching. He pressed forward, camera rolling, documenting everything. Bones and antlers appeared near several of the strange wooden constructs, as if they were part of some ritual or marker. Every new find deepened the mystery. He began GPS tagging the spots, his mind torn between scientific curiosity and an uneasy awareness that he might be trespassing in something's territory. Further on, the forest shifted. The air thickened, the ground felt softer, and a faint smell like musky and wild drifted in.
Anyway, I've got to get my bearings here. All right. Following my GPS, there should be one of those structures right here. Ooh, hooked on me. Right there. Ooh, look at that. I don't think that was there before. I'm gonna film this.
It happened again. A deep, furious growl erupted from somewhere behind him, so close it made the hair on his arms rise. It was louder than before, layered with a strange, almost human-like resonance beneath the animal tone. His heart pounded against his ribs. In that moment, he knew without a doubt that it wasn't just a bear, cougar, or any predators he'd encountered before. This was something else entirely. The logical part of his brain told him to leave, to get back to the four-wheeler, but curiosity and adrenaline pushed him further. He checked another structure which was larger, more elaborate, with interwoven branches bent into an unnatural arch. Just as he reached for his camera to zoom in, the forest behind him seemed to shift again.
Creepy. This is weird too. Just walking up this trail, going back. Now, I don't remember there ever being an X on this trail. I mean, I could be wrong. Huh. Anyway, I don't remember that being the case.
Another noise rolled through the trees. It was a strange hybrid between a roar and a growl, followed by an oppressive silence. He froze, scanning the tree line. Nothing moved, but he felt it there, cloaked in the shadows, its presence heavy and unyielding. When he finally decided to turn back, the feeling of being trailed never lifted. Every step toward safety carried the weight of eyes on him. Whatever made those sounds and built those structures hadn't left. It had simply let him go. It was a warm September afternoon in 2017, when the field behind the house seemed quiet, too quiet. The camera wasn't even meant to be part of a Bigfoot hunt. It was just a phone, casually recording over the shoulder while walking the edge of the grass. The idea was simple: capture the beauty of the day, maybe a few deer, nothing more. But months later, while reviewing the footage, something caught stood out. A shape. Not a bush, not a shadow, but something very low, something that seemed to be alive. Frame by frame, the details emerged. There it was, the first, and perhaps most disturbing, of them all. The belly crawler, lying flat in the grass, its head pressed forward, shoulders hunched, one massive arm bent close to the ground. And then, the proof no leaf or stump could ever fake. 3 long fingers moving, each tipped with a dark, unmistakable nail. Even in the blur of the footage, the black fingernails seemed to drink in the light. The head shifted slightly, brows furrowing, eyes adjusting, and a predator hidden in plain sight. Then came something smaller, but no less disturbing. It was the next Bigfoot, the little guy. At first, nothing but grass and shadows. Then the light outline of a head leaning to the right on a bent left arm appeared. It wasn't tall, but it was deliberate, moving with a patience that felt far too deliberate for a child or animal. It wasn't watching aimlessly. It was watching directly. Every frame seemed to confirm it. This wasn't a coincidence. Something was keeping track of the person holding the camera. But the little one wasn't just on the ground. A few minutes later, the footage revealed the little guy in the tree, head angled forward, one thin arm visible, dangling just enough to catch the light between the leaves. No noise, no sudden movement, just the silent stillness of a creature confident in its concealment. And then comes the white one. A pale figure slipped through the backdrop, dubbed the white Bigfoot. Not albino, but with a lighter coat that seemed to shimmer against the shadowed grass. Almost ghost-like, it behaved with a strange smoothness, vanishing before the brain could fully register what it had seen. The final moment was perhaps the most human-like, the moving black head. At first it was only the profile visible, a rounded skull, the line of a jaw, the back of the head moving from left to right. The movement was slow, deliberate, almost testing the air, as if deciding whether to step forward or disappear back into the safety of the shadows. What made this footage so unsettling wasn't just the movement. It was the realization that these figures, big and small, weren't moving across the path of a human. They were discreetly following and making sure to stay just out of sight, their movements perfectly synchronized with the walk along the field's edge. Months had passed before the footage was examined, but the unnerving truth was clear. On that calm September day, something was out there, watching, waiting, and it wasn't alone. It began with a flicker of movement, just enough to pull the human eye toward it, but gone before the mind could register what it had seen. Mireya, Mayer, and Ronnie had been scanning the ridge, their flashlight beams cutting through the dark, when it happened. A tall black silhouette darted from right to left across the illuminated rock face, blocking their light for only a heartbeat. But here's the strange part. There was nothing, absolutely nothing between them and that wall that could have cast a shadow. The figure's presence was undeniable in their beams, yet as quickly as it appeared, it was gone.
Ronnie and I were shining our light up on the ridge because of the rocks coming down, and very clearly something walked in front of that light, creating a shadow. And it's uncomfortable for me because it makes no sense. There was nothing standing between us and that wall that we could see.
Mireya's instincts as a primatologist screamed that what she'd just seen didn't fit with any known animal behavior. This wasn't a deer, a bear, or even a human. It was upright, fast, and unsettlingly deliberate. The moment sank into both of them with a mix of awe and dread. The night around them wasn't still as the rocks tumbled from somewhere further up the slope, echoing into the ravine. Ronnie and Mireya swept their lights again, hearts pounding. The spot where the shadow had moved was now empty, yet they couldn't shake the certainty that something was still there, watching.
I can still hear, what sounds like rock fall right across where we've been hearing these sounds tonight.
Ronnie?
Yo.
Did you hear that?
I did just hear something.
We've had some crazy stuff go down already. There might be a potential nest right above this fish trap. Because this activity seems to be all around where we're at. I think we're in the right spot.
They exchanged a quick call with Bryce, describing the encounter. His reaction was immediate. Bryce arrived later, video footage in hand. Using enhanced playback, he replayed the scene in slow motion. The outline of the figure became sharper, a tall form with a distinct conical head, moving smoothly across the wall. The figure was visible when the flashlight beams weren't directly on it, but when illuminated head-on, it seemed to dissolve, as though the light erased it.
I still can't explain what I'm looking at.
Right.
What is it?
And
how does it disappear like that? Because we kept our light on it. You can see us tracking I mean, look, even when my light is off of it, you can see something moving.
Oh, yeah.
But then when my light goes on it, you see it super clearly, and then just like that, it disappears.
This led to an interesting theory that something known in Native American mythology and whispered in cryptid research circles, cloaking. Could a creature like Bigfoot possess the ability to manipulate how it was perceived, bending light in a way that allowed it to vanish in plain sight?
Coastal Salish people talk about these creatures being able to shapeshift, and we've heard the words shadow people used and thrown around. Is that what this is?
So to me, this is evidence of cloaking because we had our flashlights directly across.
Yeah.
There was something in between our lights and that rock wall to make that shadow. And to me, that's a cloaked Bigfoot. It had the classic conical head, the way it moved. These things can cloak, and this is evidence of that.
Bryce pointed out that for a shadow to appear on the rock wall, there had to be something solid between their lights and the surface. But here, the something was only visible briefly, like a phantom slipping in and out of the visible spectrum. A final playback froze the figure mid-stride. It was upright, proportioned like a human but larger, heavier in build. Maria, skeptical of supernatural explanations, found herself unsettled by the implications. She admitted this was one of the strangest field encounters she'd ever experienced, and an event that went against her training and instincts. The possibility that they had encountered a cloaked Bigfoot was no longer something she could dismiss outright.
About the mystery surrounding that. In just that, I can see this figure very clearly, and the fact that it just suddenly appears and disappears that way, even after we kept our light on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's intriguing for sure. It's just, it bothers me because I can't explain what that is.
Yeah, it boggles the mind, doesn't it?
A lot to think about on this one for me, though.
Yeah.
And yet, despite the footage, despite the undeniable strangeness of the night, the mystery only deepened. The ridge kept its secrets, and what moved in the shadows remained just beyond the reach of certainty.
I really thought this was going to give me the answers I was looking for. And now, even after seeing that footage, I'm no closer to understanding what made that shadow. And that doesn't sit great with me.
The latest adventure from Sasquatch Theory took viewers directly into the heart of the mystery, starting with compelling footage captured from a gifting basket. Something furry and clearly wary of the camera reached in, taking off with bread, apples, and cookies, while oddly leaving the bananas untouched, which gives us a bit of understanding of the creature.
But the idea is, when he comes up here, he's gonna look into the gift basket, and hopefully the camera will capture something. I really doubt it, but it's worth a shot just because we can't sit back and not do anything and say, well, they're going to know what we're going to do. Because if that was the case, people wouldn't have eye sightings, people wouldn't catch these things screwing up.
This footage set the stage for the host's deeply personal journey, camping alone in the very area where he'd had past Bigfoot encounters. This wasn't for entertainment, but a years-in-the-making mental challenge, driven by a desire to truly understand these curious beings and share his raw experiences. His mission was to provide a rare, raw look into their world, observing how Sasquatch operated near human activity and moving beyond speculation to seek direct answers. He had been gifting in the area for weeks.
All right, so I got the night vision on, and this is what it looks like without the IR flashlight. I don't want to aim it towards the fire because you don't want to aim an IR device into a bright light. There's my camp. Oh, there's a whippoorwill going off. Very cool.
Leaving offerings, and had noticed a surge in activity, including strange tree structures with triangles, arches, and woven saplings, which he understood as actual signs of their presence and even a form of communication. Setting up his hammock and tarp at the edge of the woodline, he explained why he chose this spot. Rather than diving into the deepest wilderness, he camped closer to civilization, believing these smart creatures, much like deer, would circle and observe before revealing themselves.
they'll let me know it. But at the same time, how do you know if something's a threat or if it's just them being Sasquatch? We don't. We just kind of take the risk.
As darkness fully encompassed the area, the sounds of the forest intensified with the chirping of crickets, the calls of distant coyotes and owls. Yet, an unexpected tension lay in these familiar sounds. This was a known Sasquatch area for him, a place where he'd personally seen them before, and being here alone at night for the first time since those encounters was a very huge step.
I'm not gonna lie, all the sounds of the forest is pretty intimidating, but I'm close to home, so I'm not that worried about it. But this is a Sasquatch area, and I know that for sure because I'd seen them like I told you guys, but it's nerving being in here, being in an area where you know you've seen Sasquatch.
He acknowledged the great risks, but spoke very peacefully, trusting that if they truly didn't want him there, they would certainly make their displeasure known. He relied on the subtle signs he'd learned to recognize, faint sounds of stick breaks, sounds that seemed like small birds or squirrels, but with no visible animal, indicating a cautious, intelligent creature merging smartly into the wild. As the night went on, activity around his campsite became more clear. He started hearing a subtle movement and distinct stick breaks, not just near his camp, but especially around the tree structures he had identified along the trail and around the gifting site.
Over where I showed you guys the structure, right down the trail, I'm hearing more stick breaks. And straight out in front of me, past the gifting site and the other structures, I'm hearing some stick breaks and movement. But I can't figure out what it is for sure.
He noted the local blue jays fussing, a common wilderness sign that animals were on the move, and suspected they were indirectly alerting the Sasquatch to his exact position. Earlier, he had even seen a black, upright shadow move through a nearby power line strip, followed by deer and coyotes, leaving him with a disturbing sense of being observed, perhaps even surrounded. Despite the creepy atmosphere and the weird feeling of being watched, he remained strong in his commitment, hoping his new gear would finally capture the definitive evidence he looked for. His determination to his goal was to document the reality of Bigfoot, even if it required to have deeply unsettling experiences alone in the dark. It hit fast, a shift in the air, like the forest suddenly woke up. You know that feeling, like being watched but no one's around. That's how it started. The guy heads out to a spot he's camped before. Same trail, same creek, same cave.
It's literally sand converting into rocks. That was really nice. I would have loved walking on sand. Imagine if this was all a beach, that would have been a lot better. I'm not gonna lie, I think I found another way that would have helped me a little better than this angle.
But this time, the forest wasn't quiet. It was waiting. The pink children's shoes on the ground, no explanation. The slack line stretched up the cliff, not there last time. And then the sulfur smell, rotten, sharp, like something marking territory. Something wild. See for yourself.
It's so spooky over here. It's so quiet.
I know, right?
Like, you don't hear anything on this side at all. It smells weird. You smell that?
Yeah, what is that?
It smells like sulfur. I didn't smell that the first time. If there is sulfur here, you would have probably smelt it last time too.
Sulfur, yeah, 100%.
You smell that? It's kind of sulfuric.
Yeah.
Almost smells like a like a skin foot to go fart or something. I don't even know.
He tries climbing. First attempt. He slips. Something shrieks from the top. Not an owl, not a coyote. Too sharp. Too big. He backs off. Leg shaking. Tries again. Second time. It happens again.
Oh, f***. Oh, f***. Oh, f***. How am I gonna get down? Holy shit, I'm actually like freaking out right now, guys. The was that? What was that? What was that?
Same spot, same sound, louder. He panics. The rope snags his ankle. He drops, hard. His leg twists. Pain flashes through him. But worse, something's moving above. It's close. Here's what the camera actually captured.
I literally tripped and like bent my leg back. The rope just tied around my freaking leg. Oh. Holy shit. I can't do it.
He finds a hardened puddle, smells like urine, but thick, gooey, placed, and fresh. The camera picks up his breathing, fast, shaky, then a screech, long, ripping through the trees. Something's up that ridge, watching, waiting. He starts talking to it, like it's a person. Who's up there? But it's not a person. You can hear it in his voice. He's trying to believe that, but his gut knows better. Take a look at this.
I'm getting attacked by like moths and stuff. Jesus. I'm getting such an uncomfortable feeling right. Whoa! Who's there? Holy shit. What's that? Holy shit. I'm gonna go after it. No.
He climbs higher, night vision on. Moths hit his face. The scream comes again, closer this time. He falls. Rope lashes his leg again. He groans in pain, downhill now, fast. But the scream doesn't stop, neither does the movement. At the bottom, he catches his breath. "I think I just found its home," he says. And he's right. There's no sound like that unless something's protecting something. Later, back near base, he and Angela regroup, both of them shaken. She went inside the cave alone. He tried climbing. Both heard voices, chatter, movement. Even now, something is still trailing them. Owls mimic, but not like that. Watch this clip closely. The hoots are circling, one to the left, then behind, then right on top of them. They know this isn't random. They say Bigfoot can mimic calls. Owls, coyotes, even voices. He's limping now, flashlight shaking. Keeps hearing things, catches a figure peeking from the ridge, again. Same place, it's guarding that cave. He's not going back, not until sunrise. And maybe not even then. This footage says it all.
Yeah, are you good?
I'm not really. I'm good, man. Can you reach?
Yep.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Jesus.
Fuck me.
Angela stumbles out, pale, shaking. "Something's in there," she says. And you can tell. She's not being dramatic. She's trying not to cry. Neither of them is okay. They both saw something, heard something, and it wasn't alone. They limp back to camp. Coyotes howl nearby. The path they took earlier? Blocked now. As if the forest shifted behind them. As if something didn't want them coming back. The video ends with silence. No explanation, just fear. And the feeling that whatever was out there, it's still watching. What do you think was waiting on that cliff? Let us know below. Deep in the forest, something massive moved. Not an animal, not a person. A shape, on the thermal lens, too large, too upright, too deliberate. Dr. Mireya Mayer locked eyes on it first. Just a shadow at the start. But then it stood up, tall, solid, and watching. She wasn't alone, and neither was the team. The footage from Expedition Bigfoot on the Travel Channel captured it all. See for yourself. Watch this part right here.
Oh, there it is. Oh, yep. That thing is back. Oh my God. Ronnie, it's standing up. Ronnie, can you hear me? Ronnie, can you hear me? Ronnie!
Maria!
There's something moving over there.
That heat signature? That's no ordinary wildlife. They tracked the heat, but what they didn't expect was how many there were. 4 enormous signatures moved just beyond the tree line. They weren't fleeing. They were circling, pacing, heads poking from behind trees, almost like they knew they were being watched. Suddenly, the signatures began to vanish, fading, shrinking, dissolving into white orbs of light. One by one, the forms shifted until they were just small, glowing spheres, as if the creatures weren't walking away, but transforming. Watch this clip closely, right here.
Don't see it with my flashlight. But this heat signature is so big that it's coming through a huge shrub.
How big does it look?
Is it on? It's getting smaller. It's getting smaller. And the bottom part is looking more and more faint and transparent.
So it's literally changing shape before your eyes.
It's changing shape. It's getting smaller and starting to disappear. Hold on. No.
It's impossible to explain, yet there it is on camera. Shape-shifting silhouettes dissolving before their eyes. Then came the sounds. A high-pitched whistle, long and sharp, echoing through the woods. No coyote, no known animal. Just a chilling, melodic call no one could identify. As the team stood frozen, every hair on their arms stood straight up. Something was moving around them, staying just out of sight, yet always watching. The forest wasn't empty. It was alive with presence. Something was following them, and it wanted them to know.
Ronnie, what was that?
I don't know. I've never heard anything like that. Ever. That was crystal clear.
There's no way that was a coyote.
That had more of a whistle, long-term whistle.
But it wasn't just heat signatures or eerie whistles. The ground held its own proof. Russell Acord made the discovery. A line of massive barefoot prints in the mud, pressed deep and wide. 18 inches long, clear heel strikes, toes splayed perfectly in the dirt. No human had walked this remote stretch barefoot in the dead of night. The tracks didn't just walk, they emerged directly from the water, as if something heavy climbed onto shore, paused, then headed straight back into the forest. Take a look at this.
Straight up right now. Something has moved through here. Oh my, look at this. Holy, look at that. That is a footprint.
You'll see it. That footprint isn't just big. It's impossible to fake at that scale. When the full team arrived, they followed the tracks. A trail that led from riverbanks deep into dense brush, each print spaced with a stride far too long for any human. 16 inches, then 18, leading straight to the tree line. It was clear. Something enormous had passed through, and recently. See the moment, right here.
Here's where it gets really strange. Tell me what you see in front of me.
Oh my God.
These are fresh from last night.
Whoa.
If you look in the water behind it, looks like an impression in the water back here.
Ooh.
This thing literally appears to have come out of the water and onto this bank. These toes are crystal clear.
Oh my God.
Look at where we are right now. What are the odds of somebody walking through here with bare feet?
Right.
And look just above it.
The stride, the depth, the sheer size, undeniable. Multiple creatures on thermal, strange lights, sounds that don't match any known species, and enormous footprints. It's no longer just a story whispered around campfires. The signs are there, and this time the cameras caught them. But the bigger question remains. What creature walks on two legs, vanishes into light, leaves colossal prints, and whistles from the dark? A voice answers back, not from a person, not from any known animal, but from something ancient, something to watch. It happens while the camera's rolling, while footprints are being documented just feet away. You hear it. A low, deliberate vocalization cuts through the quiet, captured in real time by Sasquatch Ontario. No static mic, no overnight recorder. This was live, present, proof. See for yourself, right here.
How to heel is not very big. 9 inches?
I don't know. I think it's the same individual back and forth here, except for this one. Look at this. I got to get the tape. Oh no, I got the tape measure right there. Okay, hold on. Let me.
I don't even know. I'm just staying over here.
Okay. There's one right there. Oh, I can kind of see trackway. All right. Okay, stopping this remote.
The Ninyanin vocal rings out like a warning and a welcome all at once. It wasn't the only sign. Lying just ahead, a single footprint pressed into the earth like a signature. Not just any print, 21 inches long. The big guy, as they call him, had been here 2 nights in a row, and this was his mark. The impression was deep, wide, and undeniable. No mistaking it for an accident of nature or a misread animal track. This was deliberate, powerful, evidence of something massive. Take a look at this.
It's there's a single adult print and the rest are all the young ones. No, I think that's the same one. The same individual doing this trackway here. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So that's with Neff. That one, that's 1, 2, 3, that's 4 family members showed up tonight.
That footprint tells a story all its own. The shape, the width, the defined toes, all there, speaking to something more human than animal. As they kept moving, more prints appeared. Tracks from multiple family members, each different in size, but all following the same unseen path. The smaller ones interspersed with giants, as if a family group moved together just out of sight, brushing past trees, watching from shadows. They left their marks as if to say, "We're here with you, step for step." Watch this clip closely, right here.
We have company right now. They're throwing snowballs at us. We have one of the adults with a 21-inch footprint. That's got to be 12 feet tall.
That's not the big guy, though.
Yeah, the big guy was 20 inches last time. 20. That's 21 now.
The trail of prints leads through untouched terrain, proof that what's being heard isn't imagination. But it's the voice that lingers. The Ninyanin vocal, captured in the open, reinforces what the native cultures have always said. The Sasquatch are not just physical beings. They are ancient people, masters of consciousness, moving between realities we barely understand. Every vocalization, every print, every shadow confirms that they operate on a level beyond what science dares admit. And yet, here it is, recorded, documented, undeniable. The forest may seem quiet, but it listens, it speaks back, and sometimes it leaves proof you can't ignore. See for yourself, right here.
Yeah, that is snowballs from them. And that was a 21-inch footprint and a almost 12-inch footprint. And earlier we had a 9.5-inch footprint and a 16-inch footprint. And the 16-inch was Neff, which is 4 inches of growth since this all started.
The voice, the prints, the eerie sense that you're never alone in these woods. It's not just tracking anymore. It's interaction, contact, evidence that shifts everything we thought we knew. So the question hangs. If these beings are this close, this present, with knowledge far beyond ours, how much longer can the truth be kept hidden? What if everything we know about Sasquatch is only half the story? And what if the real answers aren't found in gadgets, traps, or night vision cameras, but in ancestral knowledge, spiritual connection, and stillness? In the untouched wilds of northwestern Alberta, one man continues to explore that possibility. Meet Robert Judd, the voice behind the Swan Lake Bigfoot YouTube channel. A seasoned Cree tracker with a legacy stretching back to 1972, his first Sasquatch encounter, Robert doesn't hunt these beings. He builds relationships with them. And that's exactly what makes his story different. For Robert, tracking Sasquatch is not about capturing proof for headlines.
Robert, hello from Michigan. Thank you for all your knowledge and help. Angie. And musical medium. She's got in brackets, musical medium.
It's about understanding the old ways, the subtle exchanges between forest and human, and the belief that these beings are not monsters, but relatives, quiet guardians of forgotten boundaries. In one of his most haunting and powerful moments, Robert shares a photograph taken near an aged totem pole.
I really believe this is a little baby Bigfoot, and I'm going to share this with you. I've got 3 or 4 still images that I want to share with you that I was able to get.
Deep within Sasquatch territory. At first glance, it's a quiet woodland scene, but then something reveals itself. Hidden just beside the base of the totem is what Robert believes to be a baby Sasquatch, thumb in its mouth, its body nestled close to a much larger figure, likely its mother.
To pick up on it, but I just want to show you this little guy. And all I did was the diffuse glow filter.
Watch closely as Robert slowly enhances the image on screen, shifting contrast and light to reveal the subtle shape of the young figure beside the totem.
And a little bit of noise. It's called a noise filter, which takes away the pixels, like the squareness, the square pixels, and kind of rounds everything.
The image didn't come from a hunt. It wasn't baited or chased. It happened during a quiet walk to one of his gifting sites, simple spaces where Robert leaves feathers, marbles, and small toys for the beings he's come to know over decades.
To the stills that I'm able to get, and then the little journey it takes before it gets to you. It's the filters that are helping us see these things a little bit better, right?
And sometimes something changes. Sometimes the gifts are rearranged. Other times they vanish. One day, a perfectly stacked tower of stones stood where none had been before. On another, small barefoot prints appeared in the damp soil. No child could have made them. Not that deep. Not alone. This photo, though, this was different. To Robert, it wasn't evidence.
The upper lip, and I swear, this little Sasquatch, I think this is a baby Sasquatch, sucking on his thumb. And here's...
It was an offering of trust, that a young Sasquatch would be visible, even slightly, beside a sacred totem pole meant more than just presence. It meant permission. He believes the totem itself, a spiritual marker and guardian in Cree tradition.
I have a little something to share with you guys here. It's a little video. I'm going to take you all back to the Bigfoot totem pole.
Played a role. These poles aren't decorative. They're boundary keepers, story holders. Robert often says that what we think of as totems in indigenous culture aren't just artistic. They're contracts with the land, agreements honored by more than humans.
Who's been around children, little kids, little babies. That's what they do. That pointer sticks up out straight and their little thumb.
Listen in as Robert explains how the totem pole's energy may have created a moment of safety, where even the youngest of the Sasquatch clan felt safe enough to be seen. Robert refers to this group of Sasquatch as the Seven Creeks Clan, a name given not by lore, but through years of observation, dreams, and tracks. He believes this clan knows him by him. They've accepted his presence. And that's why the image matters. It's not high resolution. It's not flashy.
Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay. This little guy, he's there, and if you notice, I still see his little right arm and...
But it's real. Just like the Swan Lake Bigfoot channel. No jump scares. No exaggeration, just quiet footage, still frames, and honest narration by a man who walks softly and listens deeply. His goal isn't to convince the world. His goal is to protect the bond. He doesn't chase. He doesn't provoke. He waits.
I couldn't see it, right? When you see something in your camera and you're looking in the same place there and it's not there, but here it is in your camera. Okay, it's not there. It's a very...
And through that waiting, this moment arrived. A baby Sasquatch, thumb in mouth, beside a totem. An image that seems almost too simple, until you realize what it took to get there. Decades of respect, dozens of gifts, countless quiet steps. Hear Robert reflect on why this moment wasn't about evidence.
The orbs, that orb, there was an orb flying around that tree while I was there. And then, of course, I was...
It was about being trusted enough to witness something sacred. To many, Sasquatch is still a myth. But for those who've seen what Robert has seen, it's a memory, a living presence that doesn't need to be proven, only honored. And that's the mission of Swan Lake Bigfoot. Not to win over skeptics, but to show the world what becomes possible when we slow down and listen.
More strange occurrences and things. It's like it's been 5 for 5. These strange anomalies and strange things are taking place back up in...
Could this image be what it seems? A baby Sasquatch leaning into the protection of its clan beside a spiritual totem? Or is it something else? A message, a mirror, a mystery meant only for those who pay attention. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because in this forest, stories don't scream, they whisper.
So we will get into the video here again. Everybody take care. Thank you. And if there's anybody else, so everybody take care. If there's any new subscribers, thank you for being here. And I will see you in the trees real soon. Bye for now.
Hey folks, so if you enjoyed this dive into the wild, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next adventure. And let us know in the comments, do you think this was Bigfoot or just something else lurking in the dark?